Hey there, people. Of course, you can see we didn't have a show today either. We're still having some challenges with the studio, so just check in on Facebook because we're getting entirely too close to the election for you guys to be missing any information. Now, we already know that Trump lies. I got something. Hold tight for 1 second. Oh, come on, man. I got this um, when from the Hart Office building during his first presidency. And the reason why they were passing this out in the Senate Hart Office building was because that same Heritage Foundation that is trying to implement Project 2025. Go back to the first presidency when the Heritage Foundation wanted us, the United States, to pull out of the Paris Climate Accord. The first Heritage Foundation increasing military spending. I'm going to say, for what? We ain't going to war with nobody. And that money could be better used at home as far as I'm concerned. But again, these are demands that the Heritage Foundation made when in his first presidency. And they also wanted drilling and developing on federal lands. They got all of that. So I am so not understanding, and maybe you guys can help me with this. There would not be one Bama walking this planet if it was not for a woman. And I have seen a lot of distasteful comments on the internet as it relates to Kamala Harris. And this man even said, well, he doesn't think she's experienced enough in government. So he's voting for 45. And I'm saying, anyway, I just don't understand that. And if anybody can help me understand that, please DM me because Kamala Harris had more government experience, and I'm not even counting the vice presidency, than Obama did. So I'm just not understanding. Oh, and I don't care what color the woman is, just this hate on women, and particularly on her from folks that look like her. I don't get it. Please help me understand. Um, because again, if you, I just don't want to wake up every morning like I did for his first 4 years. You know, hearing first thing in the morning the terrible thing that he did yesterday. But today, he did a more terrible thing. That's stressful. Well, first and foremost, it is so unnecessary. You know that's a lying ass. You know it. And then you have his vice presidential, his running buddy, Vance, who has said publicly, and again, you can vet my information, well, because it's all over the internet anyway. But I tend to go to places like The Hill and uh, The Root and Newsweek, especially. You know, I use that, but it's all over in that Vance has told you, I will lie if it's going to make you pay attention to me. He said that out of his mouth earlier this week. But we are going to sit and point fingers at somebody we ain't even vetted. As the Attorney General of California, she did her job. You try to go to work and not do your job and see how far that gets you. But for us to sit and say she lacks experience, she's not black, or whatever, some of this nonsense that I have seen on the internet. You guys, you need to do some introspection, okay? And then I'm gonna leave that right there. You need to sit on that. Now, another thing and this is primarily for my folks in North Carolina. Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson got in office because he looked like us. But any Bama that'll sit there and say that he would absolutely like to return to the days when the 19th Amendment didn't exist, when women didn't have the right to vote. What are you trying to do? Turn women into what black people endured for 400 years? Turn us into second-rate citizens when your ass wouldn't be here without us. Period, point blank. And I just don't get the hate on women. And again, I am so amenable to having that conversation with anybody. Just help me understand, because I don't freaking get it. He also said, and this is again still in North Carolina, he said, let me read directly. He announced that he would seek, well, we know he is the Republican nominee for governor in North Carolina. But he told it in a church service that God formed him to fight against LGBTQ rights. And for him to say that out of his mouth and then to be caught on porn sites, and that kind of thing. And it's documented, and folks can show you, hey, this is you in this picture. And you're going to say, that ain't me. Liars. And again, I get it. This political system has let us down for so many years. However, it still gives you the right to make a choice and to send somebody to the Hill who can speak for you. This is a representative government. And you don't show up, which I hear that folks are saying, they're going to do what they do anyway. If you point, it was this old adage, and when you point your finger at your neighbor, you got three people pointing back at you. This is a we the people government. So when you say they, you're talking about you. Now, black men especially, well, according to Tremaine Lee, are being targeted by Republicans, especially, Trump folks. I have had folks, black men, tell me, well, he tells it like it is. A liar don't tell you how stuff is. A liar does what? A liar lies. And you know that Bama's a liar. You also know J.D. Vance says, I will lie to get my point across, so you will pay attention to me. And you won't stand for that and risk having not only your choices, but your children's choices taken away. What kind of fool are you? I'm hanging my hat on what Jermaine Dupri said. He said, because he was dragged on the internet for something that he said that was taken out of context. But the last thing that he said in that clip that I watched is, don't buy the bullshit of black men supporting Donald Trump. So I'm going to hang my hat on that Jermaine Dupri, even though I see they are doing everything to subvert this election. They are, you know it, I know it. And the only thing that we have to fight back with. So we cannot not show up. I look at, we already talked about Mark Robinson, and he's running way behind in North Carolina as well. But you don't ever want to be in a position, and I don't care what state you're in, especially the red states, that you just want to poo-poo it away and just accept and give to you. Because again, and I'm going to go down south, 54% of black folks live in the south. Now you go back and think about when Obama was in office, how the federal government says, hey, you can have this health care. But governors, Republican governors, governors in red states, were saying, no, we don't want it. So, and people were suffering. So to have a conversation and try to get somebody to see what the government has done to help your particular state, and you're not receiving it, that's a hard conversation. It's going to be virtually impossible to convince that person one-on-one. You're going to have to show it to them. But to my mind, and only to my mind, it is worth having that dialogue. Because many of those people don't know. And if you don't know, you don't know. And that's not the only state. A lot of red state governors who has, the governorship and the state assembly that's going to vote with the governor, the majority rules. Folks who Republican General Assemblies are going to screw you because they are interested in power. They are interested in oppressing you. Power and feeling better than somebody else is the most important thing to them. But as I told you a couple of weeks ago, because I've had this discussion with my co-host, she continuously argues that we're no better off than we were in 1865. And I continually take the stance that we ain't nowhere near where we should be. But you had the Malcolms, and the Martins, and the Medgars, and the Ida B. Wells. Had all of those folks who had, started the path, and they passed the baton. But and many of us have picked it up, and we're working to run with it. And I often say that the hardest thing to open is a closed mind. It really is. But does that mean that we should just not give it an effort? I also look at that the most segregated hour that the 3Ms have mentioned at one time or another, which is on Sunday. Now, since neither party, no Republicans, no Democrats, are working to educate the electorate, because they won't keep you dumb, because they want to keep it as a popularity contest. They don't want to have to do the work because, apathy. We cannot afford to let the apathy overtake us. And in elections past, too many of us have done that. Joe Biden said it. Michaela McCrae said it, and I'm going to say it again. The soul of this nation lays on it. November the 5th is going to determine it. We cannot afford to just lay back and continue to let things happen. We have to develop the mindset to make it happen. We have to talk to folks, our friends and our relatives in other states. We do have to encourage them, especially in the southern states, to go to Ballotpedia and see who is on the ballot and vet that person. You know what you got. And if your situation in it ain't improving with what you got, roll the dice on the possibility on the other side of that. Don't know what you get. It may be better. Because from some of the folks that I know in some of them states, it can't get no worse. But you have to make the decision to show up at the ballot box. You guys look at football games, if you look at the field in both of the end zones. I don't care what game you turn on, it says vote. Because that is your power. That is something you can do. You can choose your truths. Choose your consequences. So you don't show up. You're letting all of us down. Again, do not let apathy overtake you. Know, trust, and believe that democracy is choice. Didn't die so you can vote. People died so you can have a choice. And we need to begin to choose wisely. I know for me, I have grandchildren, and I have granddaughters and great nieces. Project 2025, as I said the other day, with Roe v. Wade going away. Basically, what Project 2025 is doing, it is sanctioning rape. That's what it's doing. Want that to happen to your daughter or your sister? Now, and I've said this, and I'm going to keep driving this point home, and I'm going to deal with the county, the local stuff later. But abolishing the Department of Education. Sit on that one for a minute, because when you go to work, somebody's got to keep some kind of a watchful eye for your child. But hey, if you're a government worker, a federal government worker, you got no job anyway, because his intention in that document is to replace them with all Republican loyalists, all people who have the belief system that they are better than you are. They're going to be the haves, and you're going to be the have-nots. Also, ending health care. Now, granted, I think our system could be a lot better, but at bare bones minimum, we've got one. You need to sit on those kinds of things. There are 110 organizations that rubber stamp Project 2025. The only ones I can find evidence for, of course, and Exxon. Because again, the Supreme Court says corporations are people too, and they don't have to disclose where they get their money from. But I have gone down rabbit holes. I know, and it is documented, that there were several Democrats in all over the country, but one happened to be right here, who took money from the American Israelite Coalition. Now keep in mind, Republicans have historically planned stuff out. When they put their money in, when Bernie Marcus, who owns Home Depot, puts his money behind a Democratic candidate, He's trying to water down the vote so his guy can get in. That is a strategy. He can afford to do that. But if you don't know, you don't know. And you think you're voting for somebody, you're doing a protest vote because for whatever reason that you have yet to explain to me, I don't want Kamala Harris for whatever reason. So you vote for Jill Stein. Put that name in your search bar along with General Flynn and Putin and see what you come up with. They're doing that. Jill Stein, Green Party, is there to water down the vote. I've looked at, let me see where, I got it in here somewhere, that folks, Robert Kennedy Jr., a lot of people think that he's totally out of the race. Cornel West, people think he's totally out of the race. But I find it very curious that they are on, and they're not on the ballot in all 50 states. But in Michigan, which is a battleground state, they're on the ballot. Something in the milk ain't clean, and that's just common sense kind of stuff. And I happen to know Cornel West has taken money from the American Israelite Political Action Committee. Look like me. One thing I know about that man, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. He talks a very good game. He's a very learned man. But just like a lot of our local politicians, I believe, are getting paid to do some dirty work to undermine our advancement. So we're fighting on two fronts. But we can't quit because we got folks coming behind us who are depending on us. And I don't care what age group you belong to. It's never going to be all about you until we get equality. So, oh yeah, I tell you about, Robert Kennedy Jr. Robert Kennedy Jr. is on the ballot as a Democrat in one state, and that's Michigan. Robert Kennedy Jr. endorsed Trump on August 23rd, 2024. Now, y'all know that, Trump has told you who he is. I just don't understand. A lot of y'all are talking out of the wrong orifice of your body. You're talking out your ass. You need to get a dollar, buy a clue, pay attention. He told you who he was. Told you he was in 2016. We have got to face some realities, folks. Democracy is on the line. Want to help support it, urge it, build it, whatever verb you want to use, and move it forward. You're going to sit on your butt at home in front of your TV. Because again, when you don't show up, you vote. We cannot allow that to get in. Again, we can't allow that kind of behavior to get in again. Can't stay home. Y'all gonna hear this again between now and the election day, whether I'm in the studio or not. Because as I said at the top, we're having some challenges in the studio. We ain't going to ever abandon that, but this is the absolute worst time, I think, for us to have some problems. So you're gonna see me popping up every now and again on your page, and I'm ever so prayerful that you will, at bare bones minimum, think about the things that I've said. Also, some of you are going back and listening. If you are listening to this, there are two other books that I read before I read Case. The first one I read was Nixon's Piano, Presidential Politics from George Washington to Bill Clinton. It's always been minority vote. That determines presidency. And again, the bigger election we need to pay attention to is the midterm, because the president has got to do, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, has to do what Congress says. Congress makes the laws. Congress holds the purse strings. But if you let the media, and especially Fox 5 tell you, they make you think, and this is because they've taken civics and government out of too many school systems, that the president cuts a line that he does not cut. But because you don't know and you do not understand, say, oh, F it, and go to the other side. Please don't. Have a conversation. Look up the information. Again, every candidate that's on any ballot, anywhere, it's on Ballotpedia. And all you have to do is go to your state, Ballotpedia. It's ballotpedia.com. Excuse me. Type in your state and see who's on the ballot. Now, I'm not gonna hold you all any much longer. But on tomorrow, or sometime between now and Saturday, let me say that, especially if you live in states that have folks who participated in the insurrection, it should be your holy obligation to get them folks out. And also, because I know some church people are listening from, various churches, you need to go to your pastor, and I know I mentioned that before, and I've kind of lost my point. The Republicans and the Democrats, the central committees, nationwide, they're always asking you for a couple of quarters, but they're not doing anything to make you smarter. Pastors can put butts in seats. And we can certainly, I know I for one, and I can get some folks to come and sit down and take you to school about how government works. We need a smarter electorate, because that's why we keep getting the frag and naggle in office that we do. Because too many of us are busy trying to survive and don't realize the importance of government in our lives, just by virtue of where we live. Because I don't care what you do, what you touch, everything you touch in this country has a government stamp on it. I don't care if it's the amount of air you put in your tires, the amount of water that your toilet tank holds. I don't care what it is. It is touched or impacted by the government. The food you touched and impacted by the government. So you got to start paying attention. Have to start participating. Because as I see it, historically, many of us have not participated in our own rescue. We have let apathy just take over. Can't do that. Okay, I'm tired of talking. This is 8:21 now.